Stop right now. Thank you for... Oh, no. My likeness to the Spice Girls.
Stop right now. Baby's coming back. What is it?
It's not that. It's definitely not that. Morning, everyone. It's Monday morning.
Maddie. She left all the candles on.
Oh, Nads.
God.
You got tulips, though.
I asked.
Tulips from Amsterdam. Hey, how did that song go? Good morning, everyone. It was Victoria Posh. Is she Posh? Yes, she is Posh. Victoria Beckham's birthday at the weekend. She's 50. Boy, she was having a good time. Pre-warning, I'm going to be showing you a clip shortly that has fast paparazzi light bulbs. So if you're of epileptic nature, you may wish to look away, but I will give you another warning. We're going to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu. Yes, he's starting a pop band, 5-man group. No, I'm not. He's quite remarkable. He's the only person in the world who says, no, not doing sanctions. I thought it was the person sanctioning who decides if the sanction happens. We'll talk about that. Leading head teacher, Nadia is coming, she's just over there. Leading head teacher has said there should be a 12-hour school day to get kids off their phones. Are you one of those person who ignores texts? Drives me and Maddie to distraction.
Oh, does it drive Maddie to distraction? Wow, that's interesting.
And finally, Lou SOS. You may think, what the hell's going on there? He started to write something but couldn't squeeze it in. Well, I couldn't squeeze it in. But it's about not being able to squeeze one out in public. So, no, on a more serious note, lots of older people struggling with going out in the world because there are no or not enough public toilets. So those are my stories. Those are our stories for the day. Which one do you want to jump in on now? Should we start with... evilness, or should we let's touch base with everyone first? Can we just send a shout out to all those doing their mock exams this week, especially my two nieces, Daisy and Ella Lee Durrant? Of course we can.
Daisy and Ella, good luck, good luck, good luck.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, it was a very, very. Do we want to fill in our family guests on what happened at the end of the Sunday show?
We'll leave it.
It was dramatic, but it wasn't serious. It was a diary clash. Congratulations, Denise. What's happened with Denise? What's going on? Let's have a look up the chat. Oh, I can't see. Denise, you'll have to tell us again. Oh, here we go. Denise Drummond. Some good news. I have a new grandson. Orson Andrew. He arrived on Thursday.
Oh, congratulations. Oh, I want to snuggle a baby.
Yeah.
Oh, how lovely. A new baby boy.
Oh, congratulations, Denise.
Yeah. Good morning. I'm a little bit behind today. I had to take a call suddenly. And so it's quite a shocking, funny, in a funny way, call. But it means that I am quite behind on the story. So, Mark, you will have to kick off. Okay.
Well, I want to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah.
The reason being, I want us to then elevate towards sort of lighter topics. The reason I wanted to pull this up, the press had zero appetite. The mainstream press had zero appetite for this story. I mean, obviously the Guardian, they're all covering it, but they were covering it in a very sort of jaundiced fashion. And it's taken time, I think, for the mainstream media in the UK to kind of arrive at a kind of what I would say vaguely, certainly the Guardian, the Independent, things like that, the Financial Times, actually, authentic portrait or understanding of what's going on out there. Israel isolated itself through an overwhelmingly overbearing, disproportionate response to October the 7th. Many observers have sought to erase history and suggest that October the 7th was the beginning of a much more overarching conflict. Iran got involved. Israel, they all threw paper airplanes at each other. It was all kind of a bit silly, willy waving in the air and all this kind of stuff. But interestingly, for me, one of the things that has been continuing all the way through this, which gets little, in fact, virtually no coverage in the mainstream media, is the West Bank. And the West Bank is, as to be fair to Jordan, because it borders them, this is
where my dad's from.
This West Bank is interesting because the West Bank doesn't have that obvious kind of target that the Israelis can home in on, which is it's Hamas. It's Hamas, because actually it's run by the Palestinian Authority. Now, that doesn't mean to say there aren't people there who are going to be sympathetic to Hamas. There aren't people there who are of a more extreme opinion, re Israel. But in the West Bank, there have been nearly 500 deaths since October the 7th, none of which have been reported by the mainstream media. These have been sort of and there's been thousands of arrests and youngsters taken into prison without charge, which essentially
usually in the middle of the night, 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, and just because you wear a uniform in a so-called sanctioned army doesn't mean that hostage taking isn't hostage taking. So let's call them hostages. So that's all been going on, but it's all been going on curiously, and this is the darkest twist to all of this. Let's create famine. A process of ethnic cleansing or pushing people out of their country, total devastation of the Gaza Strip, and use that as cloud cover for a slow, constant erosion of land in the West Bank where illegal settlements continue. The West has no appetite and no hunger to home in on that detail,
because if you look at it for a minute and see how outrageous it is, you have to condemn it. And how are they going to condemn anything that Israel's doing? Precisely.
Now, that problem with the illegal settlements speaks to the overarching problem. So when Israel and Israeli apologists, or the government apologists, say there was a ceasefire before October the 7th, there wasn't for the vast majority of Palestinians living in the West Bank. There was no ceasefire, because any minute you can be thrown out of your house, taken at gunpoint, killed, imprisoned, removed, businesses closed, curfews launched at the drop of a hat, etc., etc. So the reason I'm saying all of that is that America have said, "Oh, we want to sanction one unit in the IDF." Yeah, one unit, just one small unit in the IDF army, and the unit is called the Israel's Netza Yehuda Battalion, who have been accused. They're one of the extreme battalions who, in the West Bank, are accused of conducting huge international war crimes. They've broken humanitarian law. And the thing about this that staggers me about the arrogance of Netanyahu is he simply said this: I refuse to accept sanctions. And the reason I wanted to ask about this,
What's the international community going to
No,
refuse to accept the International Court of Justice, refuse to accept what the United Nations say, refuse to accept sanctions.
Correct me if I'm wrong, or am I being completely fucking dim? If America wants to, or any country wants to enact sanctions, the person who's being sanctioned can't decide.
No, it's like, we are not going to allow you to sell this to us. You are not going to be allowed to buy this.
The person sanctioning is in control of the sanctions.
Exactly. That's what I mean. They're making the rules. That's what's so funny.
Only Netanyahu, that's why I wanted to home in on this, could say he rejects a sanction. Not even Putin can reject them.
It's a sanction.
They can work around them and find money from...
But is he saying rejecting the idea?
Of course he is. But I think he would also say he's rejecting it. So nothing internationally is applicable to Israel. How can you have any country in the world against which nothing is applicable and pretend they're a fair player?
And then not call them a pariah state like you would any other country that did that.
Absolutely.
But this particular battalion is particularly vicious, aren't they? They are very orthodox, and they have carried out some very scary things. But Ben, I can never say his name, has said that they're not. It's disbanded, but going to absorb them into the police.
Oh, nice.
Into the. They will. Yeah, it's going to absorb them into.
So they don't like.
Bank,
so Israel have said this: any attempt to criticize a unit casts a heavy shadow on the actions of the IDF. Just go to many of the IDF members' social media accounts.
To their own social media accounts. Yeah. You don't have to go anywhere else. You don't have to go to pro-Palestinian account. Just go to the IDF, many of them, and see the videos that they post happily themselves. That's all we need to say.
It's astonishing. Okay, on that note, because I've got a feeling that Netanyahu's the kind of guy who doesn't reply to texts, especially when they come from Biden or anyone else saying...
Well, no, he doesn't. He always replies when Biden's sending him millions of dollars worth of arms, which he does at the same all the time, every day.
I reckon Netanyahu's one of those...
Just don't tell me off.
Yeah. And I bet Netanyahu always sends a text when he needs something.
Yes.
But never
and
to
Biden
see how
immediately replies.
Because Biden... Well, if he can find his phone.
Yeah.
And if he
then
doesn't
they plan
try to...
the next time that they're going to go out for a
bit of golf.
Yeah.
I think Biden uses his phone as a razor. Anyway, so this is a piece. This is actually not a story. This isn't a research policy at Cleveland, Ohio. This is just an opinion piece by a woman called Claire Finney in The Eye, who says, I don't reply to messages. Does it make me a bad friend? And I thought, I like this because I think, I'm going to be blunt, it does.
I don't think it does. And it's really interesting. I had this conversation yesterday with a friend of mine. It was actually Kaz. And we were saying how much we love our little group because we cannot answer messages and we absolutely know that the person has read them. Like if it has to be answered, it will. But our little group, 3 of us have got ADHD and we all say exactly the same thing, that so often we'll open messages or emails and in our head,
we've replied
or we've gone over to something else and but I never ever take it personally.
I think one of the things I does happen is that I can get so many messages, certainly on WhatsApp, as I become increasingly sort of popular, all the rage. And as those texts they literally get shoved down the bottom, and you could argue, well, just scroll up, but literally my phone is competing for my attention, and all these different platforms are competing for my attention all the time. So they do sometimes go stranded down there. I can't
keep up.
And so sometimes what I do is, if anyone here is part of that team, I will go back down, and I do go more regularly. Whereas some people, this woman says that her friend looked at her phone and said,
got thousands of unread.
Well, hang on a minute. Yeah, she said this. She does. Her friend saw the numbers of unanswered things on her phone.
Like 11,000.
It was a ludicrous number, huge number. Where are they? It was a huge. It was 11,000.
It was 11,000 emails.
11,000 emails, and of course, so many emails that come in are junk and they're inappropriate. I don't know where mine says.
I've been up to thousands before now.
But just on your.
It was yesterday. Yesterday, somebody said
58 unanswered chats in your WhatsApp.
But look on my email. But yesterday somebody said to me, "Oh, did you not get my email?"
And 988.
And I thought, well, I don't check my emails every day.
Oh, I do.
Do you?
All the time, yeah. I've got 136 that I've got to attend to. You've got 988. So does it make you a bad friend? Okay, let's straddle. Let's straddle backwards. How do you straddle backwards? Let's step backwards from this for a minute. I find it really hurtful when you message people who are close to you or that you have, and they see it and they don't deal with it. I understand that people can't always reply immediately. One can't always reply immediately. But if you get to the end of the day and you've sent several messages and they all get ignored, and it's like intimate, family or friends, I see it as it's ghosting. When is not answering a message ghosting? Do you agree? You've lost the will to live.
Yeah, a little bit. Sorry.
Why?
I tell you, ones I really get upset with is when my girls don't answer, and I send them something funny. You never respond to anything that I say that I think, oh, you've got to watch it, or you'd like this, or read this. You never, ever, ever respond.
No one ever responds to mine.
There you go. So are you ghosting me?
So
no. You just can't be bothered. That's all right. Before you sit there holier than bloody thou.
There's a standoff happening in the ha.
Oh, I see.
There's a standoff happening. Did you see my penguin post I sent you?
I can't remember.
Well, you haven't. You can't remember. You didn't know if you saw a bunch of penguins.
I'm going to go through your phone and show you all the things I've sent you you've never opened. Sitting there like you're so Mr. Perfect.
Hannah Lube shoots. I'm more likely to respond to my texts than social media messages because my parents often text me, whereas weirdos tend to contact social media more. Social media inboxes, DMs, all of that sort of stuff is incredibly hard to stay across.
I never look in. I've never ever looked outside of people that follow me. Never looked outside of it. Right. In the other bit.
Yeah. Well, it was when I went outside.
Because that's where you can see really horrible stuff.
Well, not just that, but weirdly, when I stepped outside of my inbox, that's when I got a text from the weekend. I was like, fucking hell, he thinks I'm ghosting him.
That's true.
It was the one time, every time I go over there, there's some blue tick, someone or other going, oh, I really like this. And I'm like, who's this? And then the girls go, oh, Dad, that's just like the biggest fucking music star in the world telling you he likes you.
That was so funny.
Rachel Mason, look, here we go. Mark ignores my otters. I don't ignore your otter stuff. I love otters. Send me another one today. There are so many lists. It's very difficult, very difficult. Okay, well, obviously, we've got some issues then in this household because a lot of us aren't texting each other. Okay, other stories. What have we got here? Leading head teacher has called for a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. school day. Why? To break pupils' smartphone addictions. discuss. Is that overbearing?
Well, when Mark first said this to me, I was like, oh, God,
There's
because I
more
was
to this
imagining
story.
that they were working beyond that. But actually, when Mark explained more of it to me whilst I was putting mascara on, I was like, do you know what? I quite like that idea. And if it is play for teenagers, right? As we know, so many teenagers have anxiety, low mood, and are struggling. And something that I really notice when you see American kids talking, and you see, and a lot of other cultures actually, sport continues on and on through their teenage years. There's a lot of playing out. There's a lot of exercise that is fun, not exercise for exercise sake. Certainly in London, I don't know outside of London, you just don't see that. You do not see it at all. And the figures are absolutely devastating on the numbers of girls that give up any kind of sport once they go to secondary school. They don't want to sweat. They're embarrassed about their bodies. They don't want to look a certain way. And I think it's like I say to our girls whenever they're feeling low, move more. You've got to move more. Movement is the key. And so he talks about
he talks about extracurricular activity.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look into the headline, he's not actually saying you sit in class learning maths from 7 to 7.
Yeah.
He is talking about, having things like dodgeball or cooking or, doing kind of extracurricular activities.
So it's like this. It's a youth club that just happens to carry on at school.
It's nice, isn't it, Richard?
It's a youth club.
Yeah.
Now, in the face of it, that all sounds really lovely, right? The only way you're going to make that work is if you make it compulsory, because others, most will go home. But what about the kids that hate school? What about the kids that don't have any friends at school? What about the kids that may have neurodiversity, where school is incredibly
challenging,
stressful, and extra exhausting for them? So it's, as ever, it's always... the big idea I love. How could you make the big idea work for everybody?
Well, this guy apparently has won top head teacher of the year award or something. I didn't know there was such a thing.
But he's recognising that kids need to play.
Yes.
Teenagers need to play. It's not embarrassing. It's not infantilising. It's a fact.
Okay, I want to read some of your... Oh, Erin, you're back. I hope you're well.
We were worried about you.
Yeah, we were checking in with you. I hope you're okay, sweetie. It was nice to see you. Stacey Randall going
she says
nuts.
It's a terrible idea.
Okay, I just want to talk about that. I'm going to read all your comments out in a sec, but I do want to just say this. I think one thing that America's got right that we've got wrong is that sport from a very young age is a family thing in America. That's not to say you don't get... Of course, it's competitive.
Yes.
Of course, there is a male skew, but you will find many more women engaging in sort of the familial activity. And I think, to be honest with you, I think the clubs in baseball and football, American football, basketball, hockey, in America, the stadiums, the companies, the clubs, they make much more of an effort to embrace all ages and all parts of the family.
Well, you see, but when I was a kid, I hated sport. I mean, I wasn't bad at it. I was quite good at it, but I just hated it. I just didn't get it. I'm not competitive. I didn't care whether the ball went in the hoop or not. I didn't care whether the hockey ball was past me. I was quite good, but it just was not my thing. I loved to dance, and I used to go to a lot of dance lessons. And I worry that my idea of sport in America all comes from the movies. And again, probably the kind of schools that we're looking at in the movies are, white, middle class, more money spent on the school, great, like this school is in Notting Hill Gate, isn't it? Like great, what's it called?
Local services.
Yeah, services. And the not local services, that great playing fields, and what's the word am I looking for?
I don't know, parks, civic spaces.
No, I'm talking about within the school.
Oh, playgrounds.
No, it doesn't matter anyway.
Grounds?
It doesn't matter. And actually the reality is, and we see the rah, 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 and they're all having great fun, and there's the, but if you're not the jock and if you're not the sporty person...
Well, he is saying it's not just sport. I mean, I took it off on a tangent there for sport, but he is saying sport. I mean, I have to say, yesterday I got sucked into, did anyone else see the last 15 minutes of bear with me, Coventry Man United match? It was extraordinarily exciting. But when they cut away to the crowd, it was so refreshing. Whenever they cut to the Coventry City crowd, it was men, women, and children.
Nice.
Whereas Man United, it wasn't. Anyway, I'm losing you as soon as I say football. I saw you.
When I was nice. When I lived in America for a while, I remember the first weekend I was there. I was absolutely blown away. You know, when you travel and your eyes are opened, you know, you go to places, you know, where cultures may be very, very different. And I was very lucky that I had a lot of that growing up. But there was I always say this, the biggest culture shock I ever had was when I went to America and when I lived with an American family. I was there for about 4 months, was living in Boston. And the first weekend, first was that we had this barbecue. They had this big barbecue, just like the movies. And then after the barbecue, everybody got up and was playing ball.
Oh man, nice. I like that.
And I was like,
I like
what
that.
the fuck's going on here? Like
Really?
all the grown-ups.
Oh my God.
So I thought, oh God, maybe this was because I'm here and it's a special. No. Every single weekend there was play. The adults played. Now, of course, again, I was in a white, middle class, you know, professional area. They've all got money. They've all got nice homes. They've got gardens out the front. But there's plenty of places. We just don't have that culture, whatever, do we?
No.
We just don't have it.
No.
You have people around for lunch and then you sit and drink for the rest of the day until it gets too cold
exactly.
and you
We
come
sit
in.
and drink.
But I was just so struck by how the Americans played.
Yes. Well, I was struck
don't.
one time we went camping as I walked back from getting water from the water thing, and as I saw my family of 3 women throwing a ball, and none of them caught it. And one of them threw it in the air and it landed on a tent.
We were camping. He said he wanted to get in the
paused
car and
I
go home.
I can't be related to these people. They've got no ball skills whatsoever.
No, but we were talking. We didn't care.
It was just sheer.
Maddie
is very good.
No.
Erin Bullimore, terrible idea. 12-hour day just takes away any opportunity they might have to simply decompress, hang out with other friends.
When we were homeschoolers.
Do other hobbies, absolutely. What have we got here? My son hated school, says Gemma Perry. Struggled so much. It was a nightmare to get him there for 6 hours, never mind all day. I think it's a crap idea. Yeah. What about if it was not mandatory?
Not compulsory.
Yeah.
But then nobody would go. And then everyone would be back on their phones at home.
That's true.
I mean, Erin said there that it's a parental issue. I don't really know that it is just that. I think it's a cultural issue.
Yeah, I do.
I think in our culture, we don't encourage the continuation of play right through from small children to teenagers to adults. You know, again, in America, well, lots of other countries, you will go to parks and you see whole groups of people, adults, even parents playing. Ball, softball, whatever. But it's occasionally you see it in the parks.
My granddad used to leap up. Thinking back, he had bipolar. He would leap up suddenly and he'd say, "Come on, Mark, in the garden." And I'd be like, "Right." And we'd go in the garden. He'd get a cricket ball and he would throw it so fast and hard at me. And I would have to dive to the left and right. It was where I became a really good fielder. Thank God he did that. I was fast. I loved it. May Edmondson, I agree they should have access to the school facilities, but it could also be so limiting and unrealistic to have your life timetabled. Doesn't prepare for independence.
I agree with everything. Yeah. It's funny because I agree with everybody.
Yes.
The guy and everything.
Just finally, a couple more comments and then we'll move on. Ninad, I think how we handle the school system in Germany is very good. Our children over here are more independent than I think they are in other countries. We don't have school buses.
Well, we don't.
We don't really in London.
We don't here.
No. And finally, my son went to an American university, says Dawn Decker, when I lived there, and the sports venues are bigger than most first division football teams. It's true. It's quite remarkable.
It's a lot of stories put in sport, isn't it?
Okay. I want to, before we get on to Victoria Beckham.
Facilities.
All right. Fucking hell, you're the one who couldn't remember the word, not me. I gave you a whole lexicon of alternatives.
Yeah, but you left the school. You were saying recreation
because you said Notting Hill. Well, I was moving out of the school premises.
Facilities.
Hell. All right. Lack of public lavatories. Does anyone here struggle with the thought of going out because you have a fear that you're going to get caught short? I asked this. Well, no, you would.
I've got something that's really driving me mad. Carry this on. I'll be right back.
I know for some people of a certain age, this can be an issue. I can get short because I've always notoriously had a small bladder. That's why they called me Bladderly at school, or bladders. And this is just something that, where is it? This is in that Telegraph. Lack of public toilets is forcing more and more elderly people to stay in or avoid drinking before going out, which I'd have thought is kind of dangerous. Some people saying that they've been not only caught short, but they've also found themselves dehydrated, faint-headed, perhaps sometimes even falling over. And apparently, this is a study in Wales by Age UK. It can also be a significant cause, get this, of social isolation. And I think this is really important, social isolation, because there is a fear as to where the toilets will be. I mean, I'm not sort of throwing you under the bus at all here, Mum, but I know that you get worried about where the loos are. You always need a perennial source of toilet roll. But knowing where a toilet is, I know at the beginning of certain days, whether it's a day that I'm really just a sort of, glorified tube, where I'm going to need the loo constantly. And so it can affect the ease with which you go out and the extent. This study, Nads, by Age UK says it's a leading cause of social isolation amongst people over the age of 70.
Absolutely. And I think...
Richard Grindley, it's been very challenging with my IBD condition.
Yeah, and I think, it's not that age group. I think that's probably the age group that I was talking about it.
Right.
But just women, so many women... post having children and menopause also have such a problem. And it's really sad. We did a load of research on this, that a lot of women will become so isolated for the family, like, come for a walk, mum, no, I don't want to. Come to fun, but no, I don't want to. And they think that the mum has become miserable mum that doesn't want to go anywhere, but actually it's fear around the toilet. And
yeah, absolutely.
I don't think like that. I'm not like, oh God, I'm worried where will I go to the loo, because I don't. I'm just like most women, have my little moments, but to hear that people actually, turn down going out with their families because they don't know where they're going and where the loo is going to be is shocking. There should be just a standard amount of loos.
And also, I think places could be more tolerant of people. Look, Rachel Mason, I have a can't wait card. I didn't know there was such a thing.
Wow.
Which means if I'm in need, I should be able to pop into a cafe and they let me use the loo. I had my gallbladder removed and issues ever since.
Wow. And I didn't know there was such a thing. And do people always let you in? That's the thing. I think people are very mean about toilets.
I think they are. And it's like I forever and a day have always been incredibly embarrassed when you said, oh, just go in the pub. I can't bear the look at you when you go running into a pub and you're just using the toilet. So I will, even if I'm rushing in, I'll buy half of Diet Coke and just sort of leave it on the side. Go, there you go. You've had something first. Spent a penny. Okay, summing up, finally. Victoria Posh Spice. I can't get it right. Victoria Beckham Posh Spice. It was her 50th. Right, warning. Anyone with epilepsy or epileptic kind of issues, I'm going to pop up some footage of them leaving the pub. Well, no, actually, what I'll do is I'll do this. Let's show photos. I won't do that. So here she was.
Wow, what a beautiful dress.
Yeah, this was pre-drinks. Got some
pre-drinks at the house.
This is in the car. This is post-drinks.
Oh my God, that's fabulous.
I think that's such a great image. Yeah, absolutely. There's all the boys. We're standing behind an arrest.
He looks so like her, Romeo.
Does he?
Romeo's the one that looks like
Romeo. Guess who that is? Doesn't look like him, does it? Do you know who that is? It's Tom Cruise.
Is it?
Yeah, he helicoptered in for a drink.
God.
There's Jerry putting all her issues behind her.
Great.
She looks lovely, doesn't she? There's Jason Statham.
Who's that with him?
I don't know. Jason Statham. He's The Beekeeper, apparently, is the highest grossing film of the year in the UK. Can you believe that? There's Tom Cruise leaving, saying, no, don't do signatures.
Is this their house?
No, this is where the party was. I think it could be their house. I don't know. There's Scary Spice.
Wow, she looks great.
There's Baby and Sporty.
Sporty, she's my favourite.
And there he is, getting her into the car. And there was a great moment towards the end where
I love that she's got the dark glasses on. She was so pissed.
Where they were actually singing "Stop Right Now, Thank You Very Much,"
and we can't hear it.
I need a cup of tea before my lunch. Hey, you. His eyebrows are very defined, aren't they, David's? Which is quite nice, isn't it? So you know.
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
I think that's cute.
All
Happy
right,
birthday! I like her.
Yeah, they look like a fun couple. A vlog will be landing later. Something else will be landing as well. And you'll be getting a review of one of the oddest films I think I've seen in a long time, Challengers, which stars Zendaya. You cannot be serious.
Came in last night and I was like, how's the film? Challenging.
Challenging.
No, it's very odd director. It's like, you're going to need some time to process.
Yeah, I'm processing.
He's processing.
David Beckham is suing Mark Wahlberg. I need to look into that story in a bit more detail. Okay, guys, have a lovely day. I hope your Monday